Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. I'm a little lamb.
I'm Mary.
And today we're going to be looking at all the black cards in Unstable. And we're also going to be looking at all the contraptions that belong to the faction, the League of Dastardly Doom. But before we get started, we'd like to remind you guys that we have a Patreon page. So if you like these videos, you want to help us make more, head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. We'd really appreciate it.
This guide will help you validate cards for the limited format, draft or sealed, and it will be a silver bullet set, so it means it will not be tournament legal except for EDH until a limited time.
Yeah,
15th of January 2018.
That's right. And we're going to be evaluating these cards according to our three-tiered system. Golden Narwhal cards are extremely powerful. These are going to be winning you the game or your unconditional removal. Then, of course, we have our Silver Platypus. These are cards that push you into a color or auto-includes if you're already in that color. We have, of course, our Bronze Squirrels, which fill out our curve. And finally, all those other cards which are either bad or too situational, we're going to put those aside. So now, without further ado, let's have a look at the common cards.
The first common is Division Table. It's a contraption. Whenever you crank Division Table, target player loses 2 life. Losing life without doing anything that reach is really good, but 2 life every 3 turns, I don't think it's good enough. Just put it aside.
Yeah, even if it would just be 1 life a turn, it would be on the edge, and now it's even less than that.
Yeah.
Next we have Mandatory Friendship Shackles, also a contraption, and then whenever we crank this thing, we're going to have target creature get -1/-1 till the end of turn. Now, I do like this. I'll put this in the Bronze Squirrel category, because you can either kill those 2/1s or 1/1s, but what we can also do is, since this happens during your upkeep, we can of course make their big thing that they would always use to block. We're going to make that thing smaller, and then perhaps it won't be able to block with it anymore, so that gives us more reach and be able to attack with impunity.
Yeah, exactly. Lucky Recycler. Contraption. Whenever you crank Lucky Recycler, put a creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Getting creatures back that died if you want, because you can also just don't activate it. So that's really interesting. That's really cool. Silver Platypus.
Yeah, think about it. You know, the game is won by the bombs, by those unblockable creatures. And if they did get rid of it and being able to get a new chance to use those is incredibly strong.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we move on to Subcontract. For a single black, it's a sorcery. Then we're going to ask a person outside the game to look at target opponent's hand, and then they're going to choose a non-land card from it, and then that player discards that card. So it's kind of, it's kind of Thoughtseize. It's kind of, just always good. It's going to hit any non-land permanent, which is pretty nice. But the problem is that it costs us a card. We're going to play that, and it's going to get rid of one of their cards, so we're still at parity, and we cannot guarantee that whoever we choose will be able to get the thing which is best for us to get rid of. So I would say better put your cards somewhere else.
And you don't actually look at the opponent's hand.
Also,
You can't even see it.
Yeah.
So, and that's also one of the good things about these kind of effects. And that's not even here.
No, so I just put this one aside.
Yeah. Snickering Squirrel, it's a 1 black, it's a 1/1 Squirrel Advisor, and you may tap Snickering Squirrel to increase the results of a die any player rolled by 1. It's really important to see that there's not a tap symbol on this, which means it can tap without...
Even with Summoning Sickness.
With Summoning Sickness, yeah. And increasing any die roll by 1 is really important for the opponent, for yourself. It's just really good. This squirrel is a squirrel.
Yes, it is. It's a Bronze Squirrel to be precise. Then we move on to this Dirty Rat for a 1 and a black. So for 2 mana, we get a 1/1 Host Rat. So this one we can augment. It also states that whenever this card enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card. Well, it's okay. I mean, the body is mad, but discarding a card, they still get to pick. All in all, Bronze Squirrel, it's an okay filler card, and it becomes better with the more augment cards you have, but still nothing to write home about.
Exactly. With discarding cards later in the game, it's not really gonna do much. So that's important to think
low
about.
Squirrel. Low Squirrel.
It's a low squirrel. Extremely slow zombie. 1 and a black. It's a 3/3 zombie. It's a really slow big zombie. And it has last strike. So your first strike, you have normal strike, and after normal strike you get last strike. If it still survives, then it will deal damage. But for 2 mana 3/3, it's a Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely put it in as a filler card.
It's actually a pretty good filler card. I mean, it will block anything with power less than 3.
Yeah.
And with 3 power and 3 toughness for 2, that's really a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have a steady-handed Mook for 2 and a black. So for 3 mana, we get a 1/1 Death Toucher, Human Rigor. And when this guy enters the battlefield, it assembles a contraption. I love these kind of cards. I love the Death Touch. I love the fact that it assembles a contraption. And I love that it's all just for 3 mana, which I think is a great deal. Silver Platypus, played all day.
Yeah, Death Touch, contraptions, all the good things.
All the good things, yeah.
Hoisted Hireling, 2 and a black. It's a 2/1 zombie. And Hoisted Hireling has flying as long as it's being held above the battlefield. So you need to hoist it up and attack with it, or you can also hoist it up to block with it. But yeah, you have to physically hoist it up, which is actually really good, which means it's a 2/1 flyer for 3, which is a Silver Platypus.
Yeah, this is once again, this is the kind of cards that inconspicuously will be winning you the games.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what's also important to remember is that you don't have to keep it held up the whole game. You only need to hold it up when you're going to be declaring attackers or declaring blockers. Once you've done that, then you can put it down again.
Yeah, you have to hoist it up after declare blockers when you're attacking. Because if you put it down before they declare blockers...
No, I mean like when you're attacking. That's what I meant, yeah. All right, next card, Big Boa Constrictor for 3 and a black. It is a 1/2 host creature snake. And whenever this guy enters the battlefield, we're going to roll a 6-sided die, and then target opponent loses life equal to the result. Now, that's not a bad effect, but the problem is that for 4 mana, also only putting it on a 1/2 body is just too little. We'd like it to be at least, 2, 3 perhaps for this cost, because it needs to be able to do something just by itself. And just that one-time effect, I don't think it could make it just opponent. Imagine you pay 4 mana and you get a 1/2 and your opponent lost 1 life. That's possible. That's just too risky. Risky. So put it aside.
Hazmat Suit used. 3 and a black. It's enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +2/+1 and has menace. Whenever a player's skin or fingernail loses enchanted creature, touches enchanted creature, that player loses 2 life. So if you enchant your own thing, it gets +2/+1 and menace, but you cannot touch it with your skin or fingernails, which means like gloves or anything else. But even then, is it good enough? No, I don't think so. So just put it aside.
Yeah, and of course you got a good chance of 2-for-1ing yourself.
Exactly.
With somebody using targeted removal to destroy both your creature and this enchantment at the same time. Then we move on to Capital Offense for 2 and 2 black. So for 4 mana, we get an instant that gives a targeted creature -X/-X until the end of turn, where X is the number of times there's a capital letter which appears in the rules text. Now we've looked at all these cards, and we think that you're usually going to get between 3 and 4 capital letters. So then the creature's going to get -3, or -4. Which is enough to kill most creatures.
Exactly. It really depends on if it refers to itself and how many words the name has to begin with.
Yeah.
So that's also really important because all the words in a name start with a capital letter.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, if they're wordy and they have multiple sentences, each sentence starts with a capital letter as well.
Exactly.
So all in all, it's pretty much unconditional removal. So we're going to go with Golden Narwhal on this one.
Yeah, it's an instant speed, 4 mana. Will kill most of everything.
Yeah.
Stinging Scorpion, 4 and a black. It's a host creature scorpion, a 3/2, and target creature opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn when he enters the battlefield. So it's a bone scroll, 3/2 for 5 mana. Not exciting, but gives something -1/-1 until end of turn with the potential to do it more often. I think it's a bone scroll.
Yeah, I mean the body's okay. But it's 5 filler.
Exactly.
5 filler. Next, and that's the last of the commons, we have Finders Keepers for 5 and a black. So for 6 mana, we get a sorcery. It's going to be destroying a target creature and then assembling a contraption. So that's cool because it's unconditional removal. It's going to kill anything. And it's going to give us an upside as well because we're going to be assembling a contraption, which of course next turn is going to be giving us a nice little bonus. So Golden Narwhal all the way.
Yeah. It's already a Golden Narwhal for removal and it gets a contraption. So all the good things.
Super, super good. Those are the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommons. The first of our uncommons is Jamming Device. Jamming Device is a contraption, and when we crank it, creatures target player controls get -1/-1 till the end of turn. This is all creatures target player controls. So that is insanely strong. We're definitely putting that in Silver Platypus. We're going to be drafting this highly because it just gives you such a great advantage. Killing the small creatures and making sure that their bigger creatures can't block efficiently anymore.
Yeah, you have to remember that it will get bigger in their turn again, so it's only on blockers.
Oh, sorry, yeah, only on blockers.
Yeah. Next one, Neural Network, contraption. Whenever you crank Neural Network, gain control of target creature opponent controls with power less than or equal to the number of creature cards in its controller's graveyard until end of turn. Untap that creature against haste until end of turn. This means you can steal something. If he has a lot of creature cards, then you can steal something big. If he doesn't have any creature cards in graveyard, then you can steal something of 0 power until end of turn. Is that really what you want? I don't think it will do enough, so just put it aside.
Yeah, as we discussed already before, there's a good chance that even later on in the game, you don't have anything in your graveyard. That is possible, and it does happen quite frequently and limited, which means that the card does absolutely nothing. I think it's an absolute waste then.
Yeah.
Then we move on to Sundering Fork. Whenever you crank Sundering Fork, we're going to destroy target artifact. Silver Platypus, right off the bat, it is so strong. There's going to be artifact creatures, there's going to be regular artifacts, there's going to be contraptions. There's always going to be a good target for this, and if you're going to be able to do this every 3 turns, it's going to give you a great advantage. This is basically the hard counter against somebody else also trying to go contraptions.
Yeah, it's just insane. You always just find a target for it.
Yeah.
So, Inhumaniac. 1 on a black, it's a 1/1 Brainiac. At the beginning of your upkeep, roll a 6-sided die. On a 3 or 4, you get a +1/+1 counter. On a 5 or higher, you get 2 +1/+1 counters. But, on the downside, if you roll a 1, you move all +1/+1 counters on Brainiac. On the Humaniac, it's a Brainiac. So, 1/3 of the time, you'll get a +1/+1 counter. Another third of the time, you get 2 +1/+1 counters. And 1/6 of the time, you'll lose everything. And another 1/6 of the times, it won't do anything. I think this is actually a good filler. When you attack, most of the times it will be a 2/2 anyways. It can be even a 3/3. And it just grows and grows until you roll that one. So yeah, it's still a good one score.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Fine filler card. Good chance. I mean, good chance you'll be able to attack with it as a 2/2 on turn 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and after that, it only gets potentially better.
Yeah.
Squirrel Powered Scheme is next for 2 and a black. It's an enchantment. Increase the result of each die you roll by 2. Okay, needless to say, this is a very situational card. This is a card that screams, build around me with the dice. It's not just a card that gets better if you play around the dice. This is a card that only works if you play with a lot of dice. So that means that this is a put it aside card because you're going to be building. You're either going to be drafting this and going in it completely, or you're not, and it's going to be completely useless to you. So that's a typical situational card.
Yeah, but it's so cool though.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I mean, with all the die rolling, getting all results +2 is so strong.
Very strong.
Yeah,
so absolutely. I won't argue with that. But you just need to. It's more. It screams more constructed than limited.
Yeah, but if I'm gonna see this, I'm gonna draft this. I'm gonna draft all the die rolls.
Yes, and you will lose.
No, I will win because all my die rolls are increased by 2.
Yes. Mm-hmm. To see if you have enough die rolls. I would first see if you have enough die roll cards because they actually do stuff by themselves.
Yeah.
And then try and get this card if you actually have enough weight.
So next one, Slice Spy, 2 on a black. It's a 2/2 human spy. And whenever he does combat damage to a player, that player reveals his or her hand. You choose a card from it with the longest name, and that player discards that card. So you have to, when you attack it, the player always discards a card with the longest name. It doesn't even have to be a non-land card.
Yeah, but it does need to connect.
It does need to connect. But still, Silver Platypus for me.
Yeah, very strong. Even if it only hits once, it's already getting plenty of value out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we move on to Rumors of My Death, which I assume ends with have been greatly exaggerated. For 2 and a black. So for 3 mana, it's an enchantment, so it does nothing when you play it. And then you can play another 3 and a black. So for another 4 mana, we can exile a permanent we control with a League of Dastardly Doom watermark, which is a little lamp with a skull symbol on it.
The Bane?
Or brain, and then return a permanent card with a League of Dastardly Doom watermark from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's going to reanimate something. This is also something that really screams constructed. It only works if you got a lot of these watermarks. It only works if you've got the watermarks also in your graveyard, and then you're starting to do something. But there's so many hoops you got to jump through, so much mana you have to pay before you start getting something. And I just don't think it's going to work in limited, so we're going to put that one aside.
Yeah, it's just so much mana, so many things. Next one is Ninja. It's a augment. It's a ninja. And you may activate Ninja's augment ability anytime you could cast an instant. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, it will trigger and it gets +1/+0. And augment cost is 2 and a black. So this is actually a pretty cool one because you don't have to... the chance that you get 2 for 1 is slimmer because it's an instant speed 1. So that's really cool, and you can do it when combat damage. So yeah, you can just do it before on unblocked host.
It's a combat trick, and of course, it allows us to have something which can trigger quite often because dealing combat damage is something you want to be doing. But once again, it really can't be higher than Bronze Squirrel.
It's not gonna be higher than Bronze Squirrel.
No. Then we come to one of my favorite black cards, and that is Overt Operative for 3 and a black. It's a 2/3 human ninja rigger. It has Menace, which we already discussed. A 2/3 with Menace is incredibly powerful because even if they have 2/2/2s, we have a 2/2 and a 1/2. No, then they would still lose. Never mind. It's not better than a 2/2, but still being a
3/2 would be better than
3/2 would have been better. Yeah. Regardless, if they have if they don't have enough blockers, they're going to have a big problem because when this guy deals combat damage to a player, it assembles a contraption. And why is this so strong? Because the Menace means it's going to be very difficult to block, and the triggered ability when we're dealing combat damage means we're going to be getting constant value. Not only are we every turn going to be getting a contraption, but that contraption is going to be triggering every 3 turns, so it get this snowball effect. And I think Overt Operative is going to be really, really strong, especially in decks that have a little bit more contraptions than you might expect.
Yeah, repeatable assembling contraptions is just really good.
Yeah, definitely a silver platypus.
Yeah. Zombified. It's an augment card. It's a zombie. And for 4 and a black, you can combine Zombified from your graveyard with target host. And for 2 and a black, exile target creature card from your graveyard to activate ability. And it has an augment cost for 4 and a black and +2/+2. I want to put it aside, you have to have creature cost to activate it to begin with. For 5 mana, you get +2/+2. It can cast from a graveyard, but how many times are you going to use that?
Not very often, yeah.
Put it aside.
Yeah, because probably when you played this on your host creature and then it died, this thing went to the graveyard, but your host creature also went to the graveyard, so you need to get another host creature. Unlikely. Old-fashioned Vampire for 3 and 2 black. We get a 3/3 flying vampire. And as well, I like how they spelled creature type vampire as well, because old-fashioned, so it's with a Y instead of with an I. Old-fashioned vampire gets +2/+2 and has death touch as long as it's a dark outdoor. So that would make it a 5/5 flying death toucher for 5 mana. That is crazy. Remember, it's only if you're playing in the evening, but if we're playing FNM or something, that's very often after school, after work, which is going to be in the evening. So that is golden narwhal material right there.
Yeah, it will nearly always be a 5/5 flyer with death touch. So great.
Strong.
And the last uncommon, Skull Saucer, is 4 and 2 black. It's a 4/1 zombie head with flying. And when he enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and put your head on the table. Sacrifice Skull Saucer when your head stops touching the table. So that's a bit annoying. But even if you say, you know what, I'm not gonna do this, it's still 6 mana unconditional removal, which means it's a golden narwhal. It's removal with a 4/1 flying body. Put that head on the table and attack.
Yeah, super nice.
So great.
Yeah, awesome card. I love it too. Those are the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares. The first of our rares is Guest List. It's a contraption that says so whenever we crank this contraption, target creature gets -X until the end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in controller's graveyard. There are times when this is going to be very low because there's not a lot of creatures, but even if you only have one, it will do something, because being able to reduce something means they'll have more difficulty blocking with that creature. And of course, as the game progresses, it will grow and it will become bigger. At a certain point, it will be killing stuff, which of course is pretty decent. However, taking into account also the downsides of it, I would say it's still just bronze squirrel, no higher.
Yeah, because you really need to have stuff in a graveyard, and even if it's only one, -1/-1 is already good enough.
Yeah.
Dual Doom Suits, a contraption, and whenever you crank it, each time a source you control would deal damage this turn, it deals double that damage instead. Any source, that is insane. Golden Narwhal.
Very powerful. This is the kind of card that wins you games. Every 3 turns, it pushes you into the ability, because it's your creatures, but it's also your instants and sorceries. So any form of damage, it's so versatile, and it's just very powerful.
Yeah.
Then we move on to a very complicated card that is Hangman. For a single black, we get a 1/1 human villain. And when he enters the battlefield, we're going to have to grab a piece of paper and a pen, and we're going to write down a word between 6 and 8 letters. Now we're going to play a game of Hangman. Every time that we pay a colorless mana, but anybody can pay that. So we can play it, or our opponent can play it. Then they get to, for that 1 mana, guess a letter or try and guess the whole word. If they fail, then we're going to put a +1/+1 counter on it. But if they succeed, we're going to sacrifice Hangman. So that's pretty rough. But we're going to be able to get a couple of turns of having this thing grow. And of course, we're going to make sure that you guys have the best words that you can remember for when you have Hangman. And we're going to be sharing those on our social media. So that is, go over to Facebook, Twitter, and or Instagram at Budget MTG Decks, so you can find out what the best words are going to be to use for Hangman.
It's like Silver Platypus. I mean, you'll use it a couple times. It will be like a 3/3, and then you won't use it, and then the other person will have to pump mana into that, and then if they fail, it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And if they pump out a lot of mana in that to destroy it, and they failed, they wasted all that mana and its use.
Yeah. And even if they succeed, they wasted a lot of mana to get rid of it.
Exactly. So the next one, Masterful Ninja. It's a 2 and a black. It's a 1/1 tall ninja. It's haste. And and you can reveal Masterful Ninja from your hand. And Masterful Ninja is on the battlefield and in your hand until end of turn. And for 1 and a black, Masterful Ninja gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So you will never cast this card. You'll reveal it. It's like, oh, it's on the battlefield. And this has haste, so you can attack with it immediately. Surprise blocker, for 2 mana. For 2 mana, Masterful Ninja is a 2/2 already. And that's so good. So it's just got bigger, it's free. Yeah. Silver Platypus, always play it.
Yeah, very strong. Definitely pushing me in black if I got this card.
Yeah.
Next, we go over to Spike Tournament Grinder for 2 and 2 black Phyrexian mana, so that can of course be paid with either black or with 2 life. We're going to get a 1/1 Human Gamer. This one's legendary, and it has a special ability, and that is for 4 Phyrexian mana, so that's actually pretty difficult to cast, to get 4 black mana, or we're going to have to, pay 2 black and 4 life as well, for example. So this is pretty steep. We're going to choose a card we own from outside the game that has been banned or restricted in a constructed format. Then we're going to reveal that card and put it into our hand. So what it basically means is we have to go prepared if we have any hope of or expectation of playing with this card, because we can't just grab random cards. They have to be cards that are banned in any of the known constructed formats. So once again, we're going to be giving you a list of a couple of good cards that you could be taking with you if you have access to them, of course. All pretty iffy stuff. It's also just on a 1/1 body, so I'm going to put this card aside. I think it's a little bit too risky to play.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4 mana, 1/1. No, just put it aside, because you also, it's not casting yet, so you have to pay a lot of mana or pay a lot of life for it.
If you pay 2, then you gotta pay 12 life if you're gonna be paying 2 mana.
Exactly.
That's insane. Insane.
And then you still haven't cast your card yet.
No, then it's still only in your hand.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah. No, this is not a very good card. No.
Last of the rares, Over My Dead Bodies. 4 and 2 black is enchantment, and creature cards in graveyards can attack and block as though they were on the battlefield, and they can block or be blocked only by creature cards in graveyards. And they are zombie additional to other types, and they have undead touch. Undead touch means if they do damage, instead of going to the graveyard with dead touch, it gets exiled instead. So it will be a separate graveyard battlefield that can only attack and can only be blocked by other graveyard battlefield zombies.
Creatures. Yeah. And it's also important to remember that cards in our graveyard have haste.
Yeah. In your graveyard has haste.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter, but because you play it in your turn anyways.
Yeah.
So
that's good to remember. I think this is an awesome card.
It's a really cool card, but it's 6 mana, and how many creature cards will you have that are better than opponents? So
that's the problem. The problem is that it's a symmetrical effect.
Yeah.
I mean, the card is amazing, but the problem is that it's because it's symmetrical, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be in a better position than your opponent.
Exactly. It's a shame that it's like not only over my dead bodies, but also over the opponent's dead bodies.
Yeah. So
it's one scroll because it's, I think, still a really good effect.
Yeah.
But since it's symmetrical, it's kind of difficult to get the most out of it.
Yeah. Don't play around this. Or sorry, don't pick it highly. I mean. All right. That is the last of the rares. Let's have a look at the mythics. The first of our black mythics is Pet Project. It is a contraption. It states that whenever we crank this card, target creature card from an opponent's graveyard gets put onto the battlefield under your control. So how sweet is that? Really, really sweet. We're going to put this into the Golden Narwhal category because being able to take our best stuff that has died before from our opponent every 3 turns is insanely powerful. And even if it's just a small thing, we're always going to be able to get some kind of value out of it. So definitely always play this card. Pick it highly. Then we move on to the last of the mythics, and that is Summon the Pack for 7 and a black. So that is a whopping 8 mana, so it better do something good. It's a sorcery, and it does the following. Open a sealed Magic the Gathering booster pack. Then we're going to reveal the cards and put all creature cards revealed this way onto the battlefield under our control. They're zombies in addition to their other types. This is ridiculous. So if you play this is Golden Narwhal, you're going to try and put this in your deck because it really forces you into black. You're going to have to find a way to get enough mana because 8 mana is quite steep. It's hard to get to. 6 mana is usually pretty easy to get to. Then 7 takes a lot longer, and then 8 takes even longer than that because of the amount of lands that you have in your deck. So every consecutively more expensive mana is going to make it take even longer. But if you are able to play this, it essentially wins you the game. What's important to remember is that not every pack, of course, is going to have the most amount of creatures. So if you follow us on social media, we'll be sharing with you what pack you want to be opening to get the most value out of this. That is it for the mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, black is kind of there's a lot of good cards higher in the rarity levels. Not too impressed by the common cards. Sure, there's a few cards that you think, oh, these are going to win you the game, but it seems like black is more of a splashable color in this set, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it still has movable, so that's actually really good. So yeah, it does some really big, good flyers actually too.
Yeah.
So that's also pretty important, but like you said, it's not that great.
I haven't seen anything that's equivalent to the for 6 mana 4/4 flying angel.
Yeah.
You know, which is the kind of stuff that really wins you games. So I wouldn't be looking for my bombs in this color. Let's say if we'd have to give it a rating compared to the other colors. Let's say if we're going to go regular numbers now, we're going to keep it simple. If 18 is really good, and let's say 91 is really bad, and we're going to go with 100 being average, what kind of score would we give this?
An XV or maybe like pineapple?
Pineapple, yeah. Pineapple, I get that. Okay, cool. Now I'd like to remind you guys that we have a Patreon page. If you like our videos, you like to support the channel, head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. Also join us on social media because as we already discussed, if you join us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Budget MTG Decks, we're going to be giving advice on more specific rulings with regard to these cards. If you want to know what packs to open, for example, you want to know what kind of words to use for Hangman, then follow us over there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube for the most powerful decks and advice everyone can afford. And if you do, also hit that little bell button to make sure that you get notifications for when the new videos come out. Well, that's it. I'm a little Lem.
I'm Mary.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.